Good afternoon, everyone. I like to welcome you to an exciting webinar in our webinar series of innovation webinars in the cycling industry. My name is Till Kramer. I'm the chairman of the Cycling Innovation Network Group at Cycling Industries Europe. In my business, I run a company which is a consultancy firm helping businesses in the B2B active mobility sector to find access to the best people in the market and to find investors. And I'm delighted to be co-moderating together with Jacques Laul this webinar. And before we start, I would like to give a little bit of an insight about what's the background, where this work comes from. We are in the Cycling Innovation Network. We talk in this working group about innovation in the cycling industry in Europe. And the purpose of this is to help small, medium enterprises and startups and large companies to leverage innovation to grow the cycling market in itself, and for most to be a place where we can understand how the innovation ecosystem in Europe looks like. So what we are doing here, particularly in this group, is we are mapping out the innovation ecosystem under identifying what kind of cycling clusters are there in the market. We give information how to access funding, public funding from the European Union. We also, with our work mapping out the European ecosystem, we also want to help the European Commission to understand where the cycling industry needs support. Therefore, it is very important also that the cycling industry is active and shows what kind of innovations are there. And part of that story is that we host regularly webinars about innovation in the cycling industry. And we have been doing a few in the last 2 years, very exciting ones on cycling innovation in cargo bikes, also in mountain biking and in a couple of other places. We already did one about digitalization, but I'm very, very excited to give the floor now to this topic of digitalization and what are the key players and shakers of young companies in the cycling industry, shaping the innovation in the digital space and how to grow this space. So in order to moderate, I give the floor to Jacques, who will now tell you about who will be assisting, and I give the floor to you.
Thanks, Till, and welcome to this Innovation Showcase webinar where we're featuring digital solutions for the cycling industry. And I'd like to say I'm particularly pleased that we're having this webinar today because, well, in the 2.5 years I've been now with Cycling Industries Europe as industry manager, the topic of digitalization is one that gets me particularly excited because it's one where I see a lot of innovation, a lot of possibilities for collaboration, and a lot of possibilities to, on the one hand, optimize supply chain operations within the cycling industry, and on the other hand, better collaborate and develop new business opportunities with partners outside the cycling industry. And that's why I'm really glad today to have this panel composed of bicycle identification number with Bartek Czerwinski, NOCA with Anna Buchmann, Bikekey with René Nørgård, and BikeFolder with Sondre Norland. And I hope I pronounced all your names reasonably okay. It's great to have an international panel as well, and see innovation coming from all across Europe here. So without much further ado, I'd like to hand over the floor to Bartek Czerwinski from Poland and bicycle identification number. And yes, thank you for posting messages in the chat. Please don't hesitate to put questions into the chat. We'll be reviewing them once our four speakers have presented, and we'll have a questions and answer session with them. So Bartek, you come from the automotive industry. Actually, you've got quite a lot of experience in a number of industries. And it's from that experience that you realized there was something really missing in the cycling industry. And fun fact, Bartek is also the board member of a snowboard school, and he brings snowboarding to Poland. But here we're to talk about the digitalization of the bike. Please, Bartek, over to you.
Thank you for introducing me. Thanks, Jack. Good to be here. Good to be presenting something that is so obvious, but what I believe is extremely important. I'm not the creator of the company. I just joined the company literally recently. I joined Daniel, who was the original founder. We've been sailing together, and not snowboarding this time, but sailing together with Daniel. And he's been talking about what he was working on for a while now. And me being in the automotive industry, it was kind of obvious to me that there is a missing piece in the narrative, not in the actual solution, but in the narrative, how we are talking about this. Because I could see how many benefits are derived from the fact that the data in the automotive industry is so standardized, and how this standardization is kind of impacting negatively the lack of it, impacting negatively the cycling industry as a whole. So what I'm going to present today is a bicycle identification number. It comprises of a few elements. Some of them are digital, some of them are physical. So let's just dive right into it. So what is the problem? The problem is fragmented value chain. Like, you don't know what is happening with the bike when it leaves the factory. And also throughout the production, there is a lot of uncertainty. What part goes on the bike, when it's being applied, what is happening with the bicycle when it's being sold, what's our stock, and so on and so forth. So that's one thing. Second thing is that the manufacturers' margins are thinning. So every year it's happening exactly what happened in the automotive industry in the 90s. So the margins are getting lower and lower, and we are making less and less money per bicycle. And what is happening is that if we do not address this, then it becomes a huge problem. So there is still a lot of money that's untapped for the industry, and this money is in after sales. But when we're talking about after sales, we're not only talking about fixing bicycles. We're not only talking about selling parts. We're talking especially about financial services, and for the financial services to be effectively deployed, you need a very specific asset identification. This asset being the bicycle. So what we've come up with is, first of all, a unique bicycle identification number that's based in a cloud that's blockchain based. So it's completely secure, and you can't tamper with it. And then we also have the ultra-thin RFID and NFC chips that are suitable for the bicycle frame. So the bin itself, it contains the information about the bike. So what's the manufacturer, what are the product attributes, where was it created, the production year, and there's a lot of space also for additional information. And this is all linked to the bin cloud. The bin cloud based on blockchain, which opens up the space for additional products that could be linked to this digital entity of a bicycle. So we're talking about insurance products, we're talking about finance, we're talking about service history, service plans, and so on and so forth. Also the digital warranty and end-of-life procedures. So the sustainability metrics are extremely important here. And there's this physical element. So Daniel and our R&D team created something that's extremely unique. So we created tags that are applicable on metal, that are ultra thin, so they can be painted over. They can go in the oven, so they are high temperature resistant. And we tested them rigorously in the lab. So that's our kind of a very unique product offering. Now, if you think about unique bicycle identification, okay, this is something that comes right to your head. This is kind of anti-theft situation. So I know this bike was stolen, so I can report it. We've taken this to another level. So if you tap the bike that has our tag on it with your phone, you see the bicycle information, and when the bicycle information is when the bike is stolen, you see this right in your face, and you can notify the police right from that moment. So this is what everybody thinks about when they think about bicycle identification, but we've taken this to another level. So who are the biggest beneficiaries of such situation? Obviously, the manufacturers. If you compare the automotive industry, is this in the way? Could be, yeah. So if you compare the automotive industry with standardized data and cycling, it becomes apparent that the lack of the data standards in cycling is limiting bicycle industry revenues. So we are unable to address the fragmented customer relationships and because of that, the recurring revenues and the drop-offs. So once we sell the bike, there's no way to kind of address this relationship, which is kind of standard in the automotive industry. The VIN enables this in the automotive industry, okay? Now, if you look at Ford, and this is data directly from Ford, so you can search for it, but it shows that even though the highest revenues are from selling new vehicles, the highest margins are coming from after sales, parts and accessories, and financial services. So what we're trying to do is to open up these avenues for cycling industry. So when you apply BIN to every single bicycle, you're getting new revenue sources, and that's for manufacturers, distributors, and retailers. And you're talking, the extended warranties and service plans. You can apply specific subscription models or specific insurance programs because you are able now to identify the asset. Same story with bicycle upgrades, trade-ins, to build this kind of a life cycle of selling a bike, buying it back, selling another one, and so forth, so forth. So this was up until now completely impossible because there's so many different identifiers, talking frame numbers, talking national identification numbers, and so on. So what we're trying to do is to standardize the industry by standardizing the asset identification, okay? And it's a trickle-down effect. And because of this approach, what we are offering to the industry is, first of all, completely free of charge platform to register your bicycles. Even if you're using a different identification standard, you can connect to BIN for free, and you can generate the BINs. You can identify. You can register your bicycle on the BIN, and this is available now today, and it's free. It's free to use for everybody, for manufacturers, for retailers, for national identification systems, and so forth. So if you want to learn more, you can always scan the QR code on the screen. We are very happy to talk, and I believe there's a lot to talk about.
I think there is a lot to talk about. Thanks very much, Bartek, for running us through the goal of bicycle identification number. And I think it's really valuable to underline that with a standardized serial number, there's a lot we can leverage. And this is really topical for this webinar because we're really looking about how to leverage data about the bicycle to enable good things to happen. And with that in mind, I'd now like to hand over to our next speaker. That's Anna Buchmann from NOCA, based in Berlin, an exciting company that's aiming to be a global connected master data platform for industrial supply chains. And your vision is based on an idea where you enhance business operations, you make them more efficient, and you support more circular and sustainable supply chains. And to do that, you provide digital services. And this is where I stop talking and hand over the floor to you, Anna. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jack. And super happy to be here. My name is Anna. I'm the CEO and co-founder of NOCA, and we are building an intelligent master data management solution for the cycling industry specifically to solve the shit in, shit out problem. So if you think about the presentation that Bartek just gave, you can imagine that we could be one of the data sources that props up all of this information into the bicycle identification number. But what Bartek already said, and what I can just highlight, is that master data, or data in general, powers our businesses. Data is the groundwork for efficient, streamlined, and automated processes. It's really providing data is what drives customer satisfaction. It helps businesses to scale without increasing all of their costs, and it also builds the foundation of technology readiness, such as machine learning and AI, things that we have to consider is coming for our industry as well, and that we need to prepare for. And whenever I ask this question, is your data ready, to most of our customers, the answer is no. And we see that companies, no matter if it's suppliers of components, if it's OEM brands of bicycles, assemblers, distributors, or retailers, they lack a way to really build a database that is consistent, that is complete, that is correct, and that is connected, which I termed the 4 C's of master data. And yes, I am a nerd about that. So when we speak about master data, what exactly are we talking about? So around a component or around a bike, there's loads of different people in a company that need to work with data. That's product, it's marketing, it's compliance, it's sales, it's quality assurance. And here we have, of course, the product data, information around the component or the bike, such as technical specifications, bill of material, cut models, drawings, etc., etc. Then we have transactional data. That's more the commercial data, such as prices, MOQs, lead times, and then more and more important coming up, compliance and sustainability data, such as CO2 footprint or specific certificates for specific regulations. And then obviously the more contractual side, or the things that update across a relationship in the supply chain, such as agreements and contracts. And now you can imagine that each component on a bike has all of these data points that need to be managed both inside a company as well as with business partners. And what we've seen in speaking to loads of different bicycle businesses is that data management right now is happening decentralized. So it's happening across loads of different tools, Excel being the top ranking one, or different tools such as PIMs, ERPs, or any kind of software that the different teams are using. What's then happening is that all of this data is distributed and not connected, so it's redundant, it's missing, it's not standardized, and it's pretty much unusable, or it takes a lot of time internally to find the right information to actually work with your processes, no matter if you're product, sales, or marketing. And when we now take that approach of inside the company and we apply it to the next company, you basically have this data mess multiplying at an exceptional rate. And then we see that when data needs to be exchanged, we have a component supplier who has different articles or different components that an OEM brand or an assembler could spec for their bike. They send this information via Excel, they send it worst via PDF, or they even call and just let people know, we have heard about faxes, I haven't seen them. It's a myth. So here you can imagine that this loss of control over your master data is happening all across the supply chain, where it gets lost, it's not input, or it's just really faulty and missing in all of these different systems. That can be really critical when it comes to things like CE certification, compliance, or in the end of the supply chain to repair your bike if you don't know what's actually exactly in it, because different suppliers or OEM brands have not been able to share their data successfully. And that's exactly where NOCA is coming in. We're providing a solution that helps companies spend time and resources on data management and build a sufficient database for streamlined operations as well as machine learning and AI applications. So first, we would always be looking at structuring data internally. Then we're looking at how data can be shared most efficiently, how data can be received, and then how we can build processes on top. So let's get started with data management inside of companies. Here, NOCA enables users to create a single source of truth that is central to all teams, so that each team, no matter what they're looking for, can find exactly the information that they need to manage their processes. And here what's really special is that we have defined a harmonized data structure. So for each category, if it's a handlebar, if it's a chainring, if it's a battery, we have defined a set of attributes or technical specifications that is assigned to this category. That means no matter who enters this information is always in the same data field. And it means that there's a completion tracker, which I can show you here, where you can see which information has been added and what's missing. So that way we make sure that each and single data point of an article is managed in the system and can be leveraged both internally and externally. Now, for specifically OEM brands and assemblers, we also have developed a bill of material tool. It's the same logic. It's basically saying there needs to be certain articles in a bill of material. It's connected to our article management, which makes it super easy to switch out articles and see how costs, weight, technical specifications have changed, and you can then also attach documents and share this bill of material with your partners, whether that's an assembler, whether that's a retailer or a supplier. Now, imagine OEM businesses or assemblers don't have to put in all of this data manually or from their systems, but they get it from their suppliers. And this is exactly what we can do with digital customer catalogs. So here, component suppliers can create digital catalogs that are connected to their article management and share them with their B2B customers in just a few clicks. And then on the other side, we can make sure that the right person and the right team and the right company is receiving exactly that data in digital catalogs. So what is a digital catalog on the other side is basically a data ingestion engine for OEM manufacturers so that they get article data straight from the source. They, in an ideal case, don't even have to touch it anymore. They can ingest it into their own central database and start building bill of materials. And if data changes on the supplier side, it's automatically updated on the OEM side. Once we have that connection built, and this is exactly what we're focusing on, suppliers or component suppliers and OEM manufacturers, distributors, whoever is next in the supply chain, we can build B2B customer portals or automatic processes on top. What does that mean? We're talking about procurement, we're talking about sales, we're talking about placing orders, we're talking about claim management, we're talking about any customer/supplier-faced process that requires companies to exchange data. So by building a proper, a complete, a connected, a consistent databases inside of companies, we enable them to share this information, make it really valuable for the upstream and downstream supply chain, and then build automation on top. That way we can save resources, time and money in spending on master data management. We can improve the quality and consistency of data internally. And we're now just starting to build our first AI applications so we can help our users leverage AI without having to have the internal knowledge and with their own databases. That is so powerful and so strong in terms of quality and consistency that is actually a proper AI case and not just one of those things that everyone is talking about that doesn't make sense. So in that way, we're really looking to connect the supply chain, make sure everyone is having the right data at the right moment, and build processes on top that save money, make the supply chain more digital and more circular, and ultimately more sustainable. Thank you so much.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Anna, for this great presentation. If you've just joined us, we have 131 people who are listening in right now. That's great, some familiar faces. And if you joined in the meantime and heard words like blockchain and AI, I'd like to reassure you, yes, you are in a webinar about the cycling industry and about innovation in the cycling industry and its future. So please stay with us. Anna, Bartek, what I really gather and really like about your presentation is you're not saying you were not leveraging data about the bike. We are collecting data about the bicycle. The problem is the consistency with which we do it. And I think that's something, you know, if people are looking to raise questions, that might be an interesting theme. But it's that consistency very clear that makes it possible to use that data, share it, and give it value, because data has much more value when it's shared smartly. And I'd like to move on to another example of sharing data smartly about bikes. And this comes from Denmark. René Nørgård, you have founded Bikekey not so long ago, I think, and it's really proven to be an inroad into creating a Danish bicycle registry, and it creates new ways of working with services companies, in particular insurance companies. That's what I gather, but of course you will explain that much better than I do. Over to you, René.
Yeah, I think you're off to a great start there, Jack. And I think just to start off, I feel I look a bit blurry. Sorry for that, but I hope it's okay. I think many of the people in this chat and this forum have probably a bicycle themselves, and I think the whole idea of Bikekeys that's kind of started from that idea. So we are 4 co-founders and now a team of 7 people joining on this project, and it kind of all started off, I think 4 years ago now, actually, where we kind of matched our numbers together and realized, okay, we have actually gotten 25 bikes stolen. Like, what the hell is happening? You know, it's like Denmark is supposed to be a safe country in the broader spectrum of Europe, and now the amount of bicycles across Europe is just rapidly increasing and increasing. And I think we can all relate to this, at least many of us, or maybe we have a friend or something, relate to this feeling of going down to the place where you are like, unless you had beers and stuff, 95% sure that you put your bicycle last time just to discover, okay, now I can't get from A to B. I can't get, wherever I wanted to, or I'm missing a meeting or whatever that was. And then the other frustration comes, okay, now I need to find receipts and documents and all these things for the insurance companies, and everything is just a hassle while I don't have my main transportation and also have to think about, taking a bus or metro or whatever it is to get to my end destination. And with those problems in mind, we started Bikekey with an ultimate goal of collaborating with insurance companies, because they are the ones, typically, at least in Denmark, paying for these thieves that are unfortunately stealing our bicycles. And with those words, I'll start my presentation here. All right, maybe I have to move this one. Yeah, so one thing we discovered quite fast in Bikekey is that it's actually very costly for insurance companies to insure bicycles. They want to build in on the trend, which is electric bicycles, and provide insurance to electric bicycle owners. But it comes with a high cost, both in relation to administrating the bicycles. Bicycles is different compared to cars, because the level of degree that you can provide documentation is different, right? Because your bicycle gets stolen on the street, and it can be rather hard to document whether, a thief broke in or whatever it was. So we kind of decided to chip into this area with the goal of improving the profitability for the insurance company, improving the customer satisfaction for all the bicycle users. So how can the insurance company actually help the bike owners have a more safe, easy, and healthier life by taking their bicycle from A to B? and finally help the insurance company decrease administration in everything regarding claim handling and all the back-end stuff that needs to happen for a smooth and positive bicycle insurance experience with your insurance company. Then we got recommended by the Danish branch organization for insurance and pension that is representing all the Danish insurance companies, and kind of like leading a way that maybe there could be made some change in regarding bicycle insurance, and also just to create a safer community overall in Denmark. And that dialogue kind of started off with this graph, which I think is pretty intense to look at. I think all of us here know that the electric bicycle came out here around 2008, which has kind of led to a beautiful boom in the amount of electrical bicycles sold. But on the insurance side, it has actually also resulted in a significant increase in payouts, which is, of course, both harming the insurance company, but ultimately also harming us as cyclists, because we maybe have to pay a bigger premium or a bigger deductible when our bicycle gets stolen, if we are that unlucky. So we kind of decided that this is something we would like to change and contribute with. And what we have seen so far, after implementing our IT platform and all our theft prevention initiatives, also detecting fraud when people are making insurance claims, do a lot of process automation, is actually that we have helped the insurance companies year over year, and that is based on more than 20,000 registrations in Denmark that we are collaborating with, to reduce the amount of claims they are seeing and the actual payout with over 50%, which has, of course, been a very positive case for us, but also something that we have managed to achieve by really being close to the end user, which is the cyclist, and really understand what is the behavior you are going through when you lock your bicycle, and how can we actually maybe do some changes and actually prevent the bicycle theft by just having a few things in mind when we are parking our bicycle, or maybe having the proper lock, or making sure we have all the documents, and maybe some marking that actually represents that we need to remember to do some stuff. So that's some of the things we are really proud of having achieved. We also really take the customer journey high in Bikekey. So we have always focused on improving the customer journey for the bicycle owner. So how can you, as an insurance company, ensure that it's a good and smooth experience to buy bike insurance through safe onboarding, easy claim handling? You have all your documents in one place. You report it through our platform, and you get a payout fast, because we have helped you ensure that you have all the things you need, which ultimately has also resulted in very good recovery rates, which we can look at here. So we launched in 2021 and are now collaborating with 7 insurance companies, mainly in Denmark, but there is some international things happening. We have a 5-time national level of recovery, and with that I meant that the police in Denmark has something like 2.5% recovery, where we are around 15%. So that has been a very positive result, both for ourselves and to achieve that with the insurance company, but also from a sustainability perspective, where historically one of the things that really happened with bicycles that were recovered was that they would be trashed and kind of sorted out as metal. So we really took that in and started to say, okay, maybe we could recirculate these in society. Maybe we could actually donate some of these to maybe African countries in need of bicycle, and having the mindset of every bicycle kilometer is actually very good for society, and ultimately reducing the CO2 footprint. And that's also a good story to tell the insurance companies that are also getting closer and closer to this sustainability agenda. And of course, money talks. So the fact that we have been able to reduce the amount of claims for them with around 50% on average has also been a very positive contribution to the increase in customers we have seen over the years. Ultimately, our goal is to help all cyclists towards a safer, easier, and healthier life. We are actively collaborating with insurance companies and public entities to help cyclists we are in dialogue with both Swedish and Norwegian insurance companies about internationalizing our business. It seemed natural for us to go towards the Nordics first before we maybe chip into, I would say the Netherlands could be relevant, or France or Germany, or some of these bigger cycling, should we call it mastodons in Europe. And therefore, it feels relevant in this forum to see that we are ready to scale cross-border. And ultimately, if somebody out there knows an insurance company, we are happy to take a dialogue and maybe together help more cyclists across Europe. And with those words, I want to say thank you all. Yes.
Great. Thanks very much, René, for this great presentation. Bikekey facilitating bike insurance in Denmark by identifying bicycles and leveraging digital technologies. I think it's really valuable, and it's great to hear that you're looking to expand into new markets into the Nordic countries. Now, I'd like to hand over to our next speaker, who is also from one of the Nordic countries, from Norway. BikeFolder is a company which is also creating a way of identifying the bicycle to facilitate the life of other service providers. The focus is very much on giving the retail sector superpower. So I'm delighted to introduce you, Sondre, to our audience, your company BikeFolder. But before that, I'd just like everyone to know that Sondre holds the speed record for cycling in Norway and has quite an impressive background as a sportsman in the field of cycling. But now you've put your businessman hat on, and I hand over the floor to you, Sondre.
Thank you very much, Jack, and for the introduction. Yeah, my life has been on bikes since I was 6 years old, and I've been working in the industry since I was 16. And currently, we're a team of 8 people working on this project now. Yeah, we're really excited to show you what we created and how we made the BikeFolder. So with that, I'll share my presentation. Yeah, so the background for our team is that we've been working in the business in the industry for many years. We've been in the entire value chain of the bike, from manufacturing to import, dealers, mechanics, and also owning a lot of bikes. And what we saw is that there's a huge problem in all of the 3 categories in the value chain of a bicycle. And we sat down 5 years ago with the team, seeing what is the 20 biggest problem we currently have, producing bikes, selling bikes, the dealer, and the consumer owning the bikes. And we created a list of these 20 problems that we needed to see if we could solve. And I'm sure a lot of the audience understand and feel the pains of each of these categories. Being a brand, there's really hard to do any pinpoint marketing to the audience that they actually want to hit with the marketing. Warranty handling and a lot of GDPR regulations that they are not able to do. Feedback from the users. There's coming a lot of new regulation from the EU, as you just heard. Service history, recalls, anything from the brand in complete value chain is actually non-existent today. And also, as from the dealer's side, we see that there's huge issues regarding seasonality. There's really busy in the summertime and too much free time in the winter. The marketing is not really good for the shops. So we took all of these type of problems for each category and started working on each one of them. What we saw, and a lot of the speakers today say, we need to create this digital product card for each bike, and a unique card to understand and follow the complete value chain and the complete life history of the bike. to understand and benefit from the data. So what we did, we created a system that all the bikes have their own data card that you can follow throughout the lifetime of the bike. And two things that is really important that when we started this was that we needed to create this as a industry specific system. So we needed to see it from our industry, not the car industry. So we made this system from the ground up, as we would like to have this product when we were mechanics, when we were manufacturers, as we are bike owners. So we wanted to create a bike card with as much data and high quality data as possible. And on this card, we save anything from the complete spec, from the category, from anything that is the model year. Everything is actually created on the bike card. To do this, we saw that we would both have historical data. We would actually try to get all the data, as much data as possible from the bicycle that is already in the market. And to do that, we had to create what we think is the biggest model database of bicycles in the world. So we spent a lot of time getting a lot of data and creating these model cards, where each model card has 40 data points, including the brand's photo. What we saw that if we're going to ask the dealer to create these bike cards and use the data with the tools on top of it, the maximum time was 10 seconds. And that's why we created all of this data in our database and gave it for free to all the shops to use. All our dealers, partners, brands, they give a digital bike garage to their customers. And within that bike garage, the customers can add as many bikes as they want. We also gave a lot of benefits and incentives for the end user to actually add their bikes in the garage. So we have a 1 month free insurance inside. We have a free lifetime bicycle registry, which is international. And you can have our digital garage for free. And what is important here is that the current registry we see today is you can add simple data. You can add the brand, the model, the frame number, and the color. But there's not enough incentives for in the secondhand market that you actually change ownership of the bike card, which is really, really important to have a high quality data for the police, for the insurance, to always have this accurate data on the bike card. So this makes much more easy to have 2 data points at all time. You also have like the current owner of the bike and you have the past owner of the bike. So we created 3 different softwares. We have one software which is for the brands, where they can communicate with the retailers. They can communicate directly to the consumers. We have a separate software for the dealers, which we automate, and we create a lot of features that increases efficiency, both in the sales and the CRM part, but also in the workshop area. For the consumer, we give them a bike garage with all the tools you need to actually own a bike. So we handle everything from theft to get a higher payout in insurance. We create bill of sales when you sell the bike in the secondhand market. So within the bike garage, you actually are taking care of all the bikes that the family owns. So on top of all of these data, you can create amazing features and tools. And I'm just going to 3 of the features we have for the brand. And one, we add all the manuals. So when the QR code is sticked on the bike, all the manuals can be uploaded from the manufacturer's dashboard. And this PDF manuals follows the bike throughout the entire lifespan of the bike. So I've been there myself. I've been working in a bike shop, and when you mount the bike, you have this 400 to 600 grams of paper, and you throw it away because the consumer almost never wants it. But here, you go digital, you can save a lot of printing cost, and it's always available. So wherever this bike ends up, if it's sold in a second-hand market, the owner will always have accessibility. If it's delivered to a workshop, you can always scan this one, and you can access all of the information for that bike. So it saves the mechanic a lot of time. And then we have what we see is really, really powerful. We created machine learning, meaning that when a brand ships bikes to a shop, we can monitorize when this bike is sold and connected to an owner. It means that we can actually give an insight of the stock level of the shops, even if we have no connections to the POS system or ERP system. So it means for the brand, they can actually overview and see what bikes are sold each day, what bikes are sold each month, to get a really close look on what bikes, what models are actually moving, and to supply the bike shop. With all of this data, we can also give the brand what we call intelligent direct marketing. So currently, the brand has no idea how to reach the right owners. So through the system, we know by what kind of bike they own to send it the correct marketing. So in our system, the CRM system of the brand, they can filter out what kind of bikes or bike owner is getting what kind of information. So let's say you have a new model coming out, which is a full suspension mountain bike. It's 120 to or 130 millimeters suspension. And you can target all the bike owners in the system that have a bike that is more than 5 years old with this and this price category, and they will actually get this information directly. We know they're interested in a new bike, and they send it to their local dealers to try out a new model. For the dealer, we do similar things based on the data we have of the bikes and the owners. As I mentioned, one of the huge problems with the dealer is actually seasonality. It's really, really busy in the summer, a lot of bikes coming in for the workshop, and it's really a hassle. So what we do when we use the data from the customer and their bikes, we know when it's time to service the bike. But when you have the booking calendar, which is in the software, we know when it's available, the available slots in the workshop calendar. So what we do is when a bike is due for service, we see if we're going to release that SMS to the customer based on the availability on the workshop calendar. So it's really busy in the workshop. We're not going to release that SMS, and we monitorize until it's actually available slot. This means that you get more bikes in the low season and getting a much more revenue in the off season. So longer seasons in the fall, and you can start the season even earlier. We have also the customer chat, which the mechanics love. They can take a photo of whatever problem is on the bike. It's much easier. You get an instant reply from the customer when you work on the bike as a mechanic. It's really, really great tool that also saves the history. So the complete shop can access this chat to see what's happening on every bike. We also have the intelligent direct marketing tool available for the shop as well. And this is quite amazing because with the data, the shop can, normally a bike shop, they send the same newsletter to everyone. So if it's a e-bike or it's a mountain bike, triathlon bike, anything, they send the same newsletter. In our system, they can send a newsletter direct based on what kind of bike the owner owns. So I have one great example. One of our shops in Norway, it was starting snowing. They had 100 studded tires in 26-inch size, and they can segment down to all of the owners that had a bike with a 26-inch wheels and send this type of offer directly to them. And the quality and the ROI on this type of marketing is next level. We have signed an agreement with Shimano Nordic, so they help us to grow the system. We're currently launching in in Sweden, Denmark, Finland, Iceland this in Q1. We have priced the product actually free for the brand. We have pretty much all the features for the dealer is totally free. The only cost we have is if you use the repair module, is 1.5 euros per repair. And for the consumer, it's free to have the complete garage, and you can choose to have a premium, which is 3.5 euros per month, which includes insurance. So do we have traction? Absolutely. In Norway, we have now 81% of the market of new sales of bikes. So we have implemented in 490 shops in Norway. So we're getting a lot of tractions in Norway. We have a lot of brands using our system. Some use it all the way from manufacturing in Far East, and some use it as a distributor of their bikes within the Nordic countries. We grow really, really fast because we use the customer database and we wash it within our, we call it the BikeFolder engine, and give all of this data back to the shops. And this way we grow in quite high speed. We just reached 800,000 users and aiming for 5 million users within the end of 2026. Currently, we have reached over 1 million bikes in the system, totally unique bikes for the last 18 months. With the data we see, we can actually monitorize how efficient the shop is. And now we see that using the system, the workshop becomes 20 to 30% more efficient, which is significantly. So the key takeaways from BikeFolder is that we have 3 different softwares that can work independently. There's no need for integration of POS for the POS or EP, either dealer or brand. It works globally. Setting up the system is 20 minutes, even if you're a brand or a dealer. It works for all types of business models, if it's D2C or B2B. And we're in 7 languages in total. So there you have it. That's me. Thank you very much.
Hey, thanks very much, Sondre. And again, that very comprehensive solution around digitalizing the bicycle there. And it's great to see, but it's also probably no surprise to see that things have picked up rather fast in your national markets so far. This is the moment where we've had our 4 presentations and where our audience is warmly invited to type questions in our Q&A field. And because typing does take a bit of time, I will just put in a first question before taking some questions from the chat. I'd like to talk about something clear when we're talking about Cycling Industries Europe. I mean, you're all Cycling Industry Europe member companies. Anna, you've been with us for quite a long time now. You're even a board member, and you've seen the importance of collaboration from the onset. Sondre, René, Bartek, you all joined fairly recently towards the end of last year. I assume that there are 2 reasons for that, and that's why a lot of companies join Cycling Industries Europe. And one of them is because they are looking to increase collaboration opportunities within the cycling industry and perhaps also beyond. So just to touch upon that, I'd like to ask you all to tell me, or tell the audience as well, where you see possibilities to collaborate, even perhaps among yourselves or with other players along the digital cycling supply chain, or with companies actually producing the bikes. I mean, there was a lot of focus on OEMs and brands as well. So don't know who wants to take the floor first on collaboration opportunities and what should be looking for by collaborating. Go for it, Anna.
I mean, I think the first thing that comes to mind is things like the digital product passport, because you need information from loads of different players that need to come together. Plus, I think there's a lot of big question marks around it, starting with the battery, and no one 100% knows what to do. So I think having a collaborative space to talk about that could be really helpful to then develop solutions, either internally, externally, doesn't matter. I think that's usually the challenge actually to collaboration, that it needs to be driven somewhere by someone, and it's a lot of cost without a certain outcome. And secondly, it needs to be valuable for everyone involved. So I think that's one of the first examples I can think of.
Yeah, definitely the product passport is something that's going to be impacting us all, especially those making e-bikes, since it's going to be first a regulatory obligation for e-bike batteries, but perhaps that's an opportunity to digital twin more of the bike. But anyway, can I hand over the floor to Bartek?
Yeah, well, there is a very, very burning kind of need right now for kind of a base level standardization. You know, something like, again, going back, I'm always running back to mommy because I spent so much time in the automotive world, and it's kind of obvious to me, you know, the star schema that appeared 20 years ago. Now it's completely outdated, but that was the first attempt a long time ago to kind of standardize how we call things, different things in the digital world. How do we call an event? How do we call a part? How do we call this, and the other? And this makes the data exchanges so much easier. That's one thing. And now we're living in the AI world. So AI or AI agents, for that matter, they make things so much easier right now. But our data needs to be edible. And we have to make sure that there is a common space and common understanding. Without the standardization of data, you know, it will be so much harder to move on and so much harder to collaborate.
Great. Thanks, Bartek. Yeah, data needs to be edible, and maybe we should also be cooking with similar recipes, especially when it comes to data. René, Sondre, any further comments?
Yeah, I think overall partnerships are a great way to achieve common goals. And if there is insurance companies struggling with bicycle theft, we're happy to help from the Bikekey side.
Thanks, René. Have Sondre next.
Yeah, and what we learned, we were talking about how different the data is stored and the PIM and everything, and what we learned is that we really need to cooperate. And we think that if it's going to work, we need kind of a one-stop shop, because we cannot create a lot of softwares that the dealer and the brand has to go on this software to do this, and for the different software to do that. We think if we can cooperate, it will be much, much easier, and we will run a lot faster.
Thanks, Sondre. I don't know if there's any other further comments on that question. I think we're very seriously looking at growing these collaboration on digitalization, because we see that there are a lot of developments there and a lot of possibilities to connect kind of companies with the broader industry. I'd like to move over now to some questions from the chat. They seem to be coming along. Lots of questions coming towards bicycle identification number. I see a question, and maybe this is relevant for all. It's addressed to Bartek, but how receptive are the bike manufacturers, especially the legacy ones, to the idea of embedding the product in and then expanding their services? And how do you then get the component suppliers on board?
Well, that's a fantastic
tricky one.
Actually, yeah. It's a fantastic question, because I always keep saying that the only person who likes the change is a wet baby. But here is a lot of processes, especially when you were a multinational company. you already have a lot of processes going, and to move things around and change the processes and change the way we're doing things, it's a massive undertaking, and you cannot discount it. So, kudos to those who are coming out and in kind of playing with the startups, playing with the innovative companies, because doing this is a massive challenge. Okay, so that's one thing. When it comes to response to the solutions, everybody has Excel. If you have Excel, you can easily create an Excel sheet and calculate what makes sense, what doesn't make sense. Okay, so money-wise, calculate if you calculate the implementation costs and the benefits, there's a huge ROI on everything. If I was an investor and I would listen to everybody speak today, I would definitely try to combine the one company out of this and make it all happen, because it makes so much sense. Yeah, because there is a space in the industry right now to come in and revolutionize the value chains, for sure.
Yeah, maybe you could. I mean, that's not for me to comment, but I certainly feel that it was a good place to bring you all together. Now, the question was addressed to you, Bartek, but I don't know whether there are any other comments from our panelists. I mean, just convincing the brands, convincing the industry, is that a challenge you're finding? Sondre.
Absolutely. And as you saw for our data, we have 2,035 brands, and we have so much models. So when we talk to the brands, the ones that is really eager to adopt and can actually use the system really fast are, I would say, the medium ones and the smaller brands. And they can instantly, within 20 minutes, start using the system. And what is really important for us is that they see the value right away. We can talk about, okay, we're going to create this, and it's going to give you value in 1 year or 2 years or 5 years when the bicycle is in the market. But what is really important from my perspective is, okay, you give them some tools, some data, but they need to see that it's valuable straight away. If not, they're moving away because they're always focusing on selling up one more bike, but it needs to give value instantly. And that's really what we really think is super important when we create these tools, that they feel that the next day they can see on the revenue, or they can see there is more traffic coming into the shop, that it's give value and direct revenue.
So we need to make that case as quickly as possible. Okay, I see more questions in the chat coming in Bartek's directions.
Maybe I jump in. There's some people concerned because they need to leave as well. Will the presentations be shared? That is a question which has been coming along. So is there a way of how these we can get them? I think we can maybe collect them and then somehow distribute them via email. Is that possible, Jack? How can we do that?
As long as everyone's comfortable presenting their presentations, that should not be a problem. But respective personal privacy is also an important topic in digitalization, and I want to make sure it's upheld here.
Exactly. So, or otherwise, what you could do is you could just in the chat just personalize, send us your email address, and then we can facilitate it to the ones, so that we do not need to send it to everyone. Maybe that's a better way of doing that.
Now, I see a lot of questions coming also from the manufacturing end. How can integrating the bicycle identification number improve our after sales, similar to what we see in the automotive industry? And also requests for numbers. That's a bit early, but it's another one coming your way, Bartek. Audience, you can quiz everyone as well.
Yeah, the numbers. It's all about creating that flywheel. When I was in Hyundai a while back, what we created, what we built was a kind of a funnel when we tried to digitize the entire customer journey. So we were focusing on creating a funnel, sales to service and service to sales, because that's what we figured out pays. So basically, we were making money on selling the product, which was the car, and then selling the services, and then going back and selling the car again, while buying back the existing car. So this was fully automated. I believe that when it comes to cycling, we still don't have this model because we're losing sight of our customers, and we're losing sight. We don't control the distribution fully. And with the products like BikeFolder, for example, or ReadyBike in Poland, this is being addressed. But for that, you need the actual bicycle identification. So speaking of numbers, manufacturers are making 50% on after sales. So 50% of the profits are from after sales. Dealers, the automotive dealers, they are making up to 60% on after sales. There's a thing called fixed ops and variable ops. And then the way you calculate your profitability is how much of your overall costs are provided by the fixed ops part, which is the after sales part. And I believe this is something completely untapped in the cycling industry. So huge margins to be gained.
Completely untapped, yeah. It struck me as well since I joined CI that there is a blind spot there, and it's maybe that there are a number of silos from various elements from the supply chain ultimately to the end user, and then expanding into other services and other fields. I see that the questions are drying up a bit, so maybe I'm gonna come up with one of my own now. Of course, one of the reasons you join CIE is to collaborate. Another is also to play a greater role in shaping policy and support schemes for cycling companies. If you had one wish, and this is a question for all the panelists, if you had one wish about what would be the perfect policy measure to enable and improve industry digitalization, it can be any politician, whether it's an international or a national one coming, what would that wish be? And perhaps I give you a minute to think about it. And someone then raises a hand. But think about your wish to policymakers. I'd love to hear it too. Now, I've caught you a bit off guard there, I think. Anna's had a wish.
Come on, I give it a try. It's a really tough one. Because I'm thinking, what drives digitalization, right? Usually it's a problem that needs to be solved. It needs to be an obvious problem, and then there needs to be a solution and something that needs to be implemented. So I think for implementation, what I've seen on German level is that there's funds for SMEs that help SMEs to implement new digital solutions. So I think even if the change management is too big or it seems too large, they can leverage these funds to test out new things, which then makes it easier for new solutions to come into the market, leverage those funds, and basically have first trials with potential customers. So something like that, I could see that there's different digitalization funds for companies to try out new things and kind of reduce the cost that they have. And I mean, the second part in terms of there needs to be solutions, I think what the EU is already doing in terms of startup support. Now we've had these new programs specifically for cycling startups and businesses coming in that's going to perfectly into the right direction. I have some feedback on how they implement it and how they're worded. I gave that feedback, so we can keep working on that. But I think that's the kind of steps that I see working really well and where I would love to see more of.
Great. Yes, more support for startups in the cycling industry. I think that's a message we can all agree on. And realizing that these startups are also digital companies in the cycling industry, which is a double dose of innovation for you there. Any other policy wishes from our panelists?
Beside the obvious.
But the obvious might not be obvious to everyone.
Well, but the obvious one is to support the standardization of BIN. I mean, we are ready to become the backbone of the industry, and there's a need. I mean, it has to be done as soon as possible. And I appreciate everybody in the market. I appreciate what developers are doing. I appreciate what René is doing, because we've talked with René many times, but there is a clear need for a standard one thing, a standard one identification, and we are ready to provide this to the industry for free, and let's just work on that.
That's fantastic. Yes, I think that's an idea we'll be certainly taking note of and looking into, because this is something that's missing in this industry, quite evidently. René, Sondre, any wishes? I mean, René, I think insurances, for example, is something that's often very much tied to national law and national issues, but you're looking to expand into new markets. Would there be anything there that could unlock or accelerate things for you?
I think on our side, it's probably more what can you say, overall wishes. For example, in Denmark, we don't have this where you can pay your bicycle over your company payslip, for example. And even though we are known to be a very bike-friendly country, it seems a bit crazy that those things are not existing at the moment. I don't know how the landscape is in the rest of the Nordics, but I think many initiatives could be implemented to encourage more bicycling and ultimately just ensuring that the culture continues to thrive. So more cyclists and I'll be happy. So all legislation in that regards is positive.
Yeah, I think more cyclists is another rallying call for us, and we're quite happy that last year the EU adopted the EU Declaration on Cycling in a call for more cyclists, and it called for many good things for cycling, including bike leasing schemes, which is, I think, something you were referring to there slightly, René, with paying for the bike via the payslip. It's something else we look into at Cycling Industries Europe through our expert groups. Over to you, Sondre.
Yeah, we were talking about bike theft, and what we see in Norway and other countries is that when a bike is reported stolen for the insurance company, they really want to pay out the money really fast, because it makes happy customers. So when we speak to insurance companies, we say maybe you should have a grace period. Maybe when you report it stolen, maybe it should be 5 or 10 days that you try to recover the bike, and if it's not found or recovered within this time, then you can actually change the ownership of that bike to the insurance company before you do the payout. So these type of, when we have the agreement and the understanding from all the insurance companies, this will actually reduce, we think, the theft and how easy to monetize on bike theft. So with these type of regulations, we see that the insurance company, it makes sense, but everyone has to move in the same direction if we're going to go there.
It's good you raise the topic of bike theft, Sondre. Thanks for that. I mean, I've seen it's been sort of one of the main calls for the development of these types of services, and the idea that you want to create a digital identity of the bicycle in the virtual world. Bike theft has been maybe the inroad to this kind of thinking, and then when we expand that kind of thinking, we realize that there's much more to just fighting bike theft, even though that's already quite a lot. Now, one thing that interests the European Union when we're talking about bike registration is what happens when a bike is stolen, say, in Strasbourg, and it ends up in Karlsruhe, or it's stolen in Paris, or ends up in Barcelona. So what happens when they're cross-border aspects of bike theft, and how do you manage the data in these circumstances? What would matter if there needed to be a repository about bike theft in the European Union? How would you see it work? Would you have any thoughts on that? Maybe I can start, but to me it seems that the data we're providing via these registries would need to speak with the data from other countries. Yes. Sondre.
Yeah, I mean, the system we create, you can scan the code wherever you want. So if you want to check the bike, if it's stolen, if you're in whatever country, your screen is either turning red or green. It doesn't matter. The borders doesn't matter. And when we connect our system into the dealer system as well, when you book a service or this is actually in the works done, you will see it's stolen. So you can hold on to it. You can call the actually owner, and so I don't see any problems with borders with when you have the centralized data.
You see, as a user, the border is not a problem for you to receive that notification. But what about the police? Because the police is very fond of borders. So how does the police read the data?
Yeah, it's the same. When you scan the code, you see if it's stolen or not. I mean, it doesn't matter if it's end user or the police. It's stolen or it's stolen. So the SMS will be sent to the current owner of the bike, no matter what.
See, so it covers that hypothesis as well. That's good to know. I don't know if we have any other comments from the panelists.
Well,
Bartek.
the digital world does not really tolerate borders. And going back to my first question, you know, when I mentioned the standardized asset identification, you know, if you write against that standardized asset, you know, you can standardized asset ID, you can really mark it stolen, you can mark it leased, you can mark it insured, and so on and so forth. All you need is just basically one digital event in a controlled environment that's kind of respected by everybody. I mean, working with police, you know, there is this funding system in Poland that requires police to mark the bikes. What they're using is a stylus and a hammer. I mean, so when you were asking about how the police could identify a stolen bike, I mean, seriously, we are a little bit behind when it comes to these kind of structures. If you allow me to quote NWA, you know, if it ain't right, it just ain't right.
You all agree with that? No further comments on that then. But what I understand is in the past there has been, you know, with the French system, for example, there has been an increase in the number of bikes the French police could connect, but that was limited to the bikes stolen in France that remained in France, for example. But that's probably for another time. I think we're running out of questions from the Q&A.
Well, no, there is one which was somewhere slammed in the chat from
I missed that one.
Antonio from Portugal. Safety and security in cycling are a major subject in Portugal at the moment too. Besides infrastructure, insurance, tracking devices, lockers, etc., are a major concern. I'd like to know if any of the speakers' solutions are already available here, and if we are heading for a 360 solution. That is the question. Sondre, you have a comment?
I mean, that's the way we want to go. We want to create at least 360 platform where you actually can have everyone in one place. And regarding tracking, there is a lot of we see the motor manufacturers now start adding the GPS inside the motors. There's OEM part. There's aftermarket solutions for that. And what we see is once the bikes in the market get smarter and smarter, we see our platform to be IoT type of platforms. We want to invite everyone to use our platform and be the link between the end user and their the preferred service shop. So we want to be the link to use our platform and be that missing link that is currently between the actually bike and where it's being serviced, or the preferred service shop in our case.
Makes sense. Any more comments from the panelists?
There's definitely a space where an ecosystem is going to grow. You know, when there is a general move towards this digitalization in any industry, you know, you have more and more very interesting solutions, and there will be competition. There will be new ideas popping up, and that's all good for the industry. But we are at the point, like at the tipping point, really, when this starts happening, and you can already see a wave of very interesting solutions here.
Another question I had, when I'm looking at all these solutions, is how do we get all these companies to collaborate? Now, there is here, I guess there's for startups, for companies, usually with a business interest behind. So the question at the end will be, how do we get the collaboration of all the industry going across border-wise? And I think that will be quite a challenge in that sense. Bartek, I had one question for you in specific, because you said you would give that for free to everyone. What is your business model behind? Do you have a business model behind? I guess you have a business model behind, or is it purely altruistic? Your business.
It is purely altruistic. Thank you. So we have 3 tiers. We have 3 tiers of our product. So where we are making money is on the so first of all, the creation of BIN is completely free, and the access to the blockchain platform is completely free. So we have free APIs. You can always create an API, create a BIN, and we are very open to collaboration with everybody. So that's one bit. That's, you know, altruistic, as you call it. And there is the business bit, and we have 2 models. So one model is we call it BIN Pro, and this is where we provide NFC chips that go on the bike, along with the original digital solution. And there's the third model, which is a combination of NFC and RFID chips that are mounted on the frame at the frame production time. So this is a manufacturer solution that affects a lot of their manufacturing capabilities, and these two last solutions are not free.
Okay, makes sense. I think there is a repetitive comment from our tech team working in the back, because I think it would be handy and more easy if we get a yes from the speakers, so that the presentations can be shared. So maybe you can read in the chat, Anna, Sondre, and Bartek, if the tech team is allowed to share the slides in the PDF version. Please make sure if you can do that. Then, yeah, that's from my side. Any more? Yeah, I give it to you, Jacques.
Thanks, Till. I think we're arriving at that time of the day where we're all very tired and we've run out of things to say, even though we probably want to say lots more things. So I think it's time to wrap things up. I'd like to start off by really thanking the audience for joining today, for their interest in the presentations, the questions. We peaked at 135 participants, which was great. It's good to see that there's a lot of interest for this topic in the cycling industry and beyond. And of course, I would like to thank our 4 wonderful panelists, Anna, René, Sondre, Bartek. Thank you very much for taking the time to speak today and to present your companies. I'm really happy that you had this moment to showcase how you've been innovating to a broader audience. And I really look forward to continue working with you through Cycling Industries Europe. As for questions, I see there will be presentations available. The recording will be available. Again, I'd like to thank you all for joining. If some of you have joined and you're not yet CI members and you are a cycling company, I warmly encourage you to join Cycling Industries Europe and work with us, because this is where we're shaping the future of cycling with the component manufacturers, the brands, but also the up-and-coming startups and digital companies. On that note, bye for now, and thanks very much.
Thanks everyone for coming.
Thank you, Michael.
Same here.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you.